My name is Darlene Strickland, and it's my joy to welcome each of you to this very special service today. We begin our services in that knowing and affirmation of oneness, that there is one power, one life, one spirit, one God, one source of all life. Would you join me in affirming this with the affirmation that's in your bulletin or on the screen together? There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the good, omnipotence. And as it may be comfortable or convenient for you, join the hand of one near you or join your hands together as we open for this time of prayer. The sun reminds us of the light. God is often referred to as light. The light of our world, the light of our life. This animating presence that pours itself into all creation, into every form of creation, is filled and made from the essence of God. And God said, that which has been created is good, for it is made in the image and the likeness of the one of all that is. This day we celebrate that, remembering that we are the very image and likeness of God. And the only thing that can ever keep that from being true is our thoughts. We can think that we are somewhere else. We can think that we are separated or apart. And the wonderful news is we can choose another thought and place ourselves right back into the true place of where we really always are, the image, the likeness of God. This day we open ourselves to this message in a new way, that we remember it for ourselves and we remember it for each and every person and each and every form of life, for it is an expression of God and therefore holy and sacred and of great worth. We open ourselves to this message this day, to the gifts that it brings individually and collectively. And for this sacred time of sharing, of giving and receiving, we are truly grateful. And so it is. Thank you, God. So how many of you attended Sunday school and learned those little sing-along songs as a kid? Lots of you. Okay. Sing it with me if you know me, if you know it, if you know me. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock, and the rains came tumbling down. Well, that is a song that Jesus taught. Well, I don't guess Jesus was a songwriter, but that's a song. Jesus taught us that song in Sunday school. That song is based on a parable that is ascribed to Jesus, and it's found in both the Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of Luke. Coming from Matthew 7:24, it says, "There was a wise one who built his house upon the rock. The rain came down, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. There was a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rains came down, the floods came, the winds blew and beat on that house, and it fell, and great was the fall." It's a story that compares the foundations of a wise one and a foolish one. Do we have any builders, architects, designers, just folks with good old common sense in here? What is the purpose of a foundation? Support the structure. Any more shout outs? Well, I looked it up because there's always spiritual value everywhere. Foundation. Foundation is the structure that transfers load to the underlying earth. The foundation holds the structure up so it won't crack, separate, sag, or sink to the ground. The foundation also holds the structure down to keep it from being lifted or blown away by the elements. Without a sound foundation, your house could literally sink to the ground, crack under pressure, or be blown away. So here we have the story of a wise one and a foolish one who builds a house, one with a firm foundation and one without a firm foundation. So the story is referring to a house, but what is Jesus really talking about? us, yeah. You know, he also said, do you not know that you are the temple of God? So he's talking about the wise one founded his self on something that was firm. So if we look up the word wise, the Greek word wise is phronimos. Phronimos. And what it means is one who is mindful, aware, considering your thoughts. So essentially what the story is about is the one who has an awareness that is anchored on a firm foundation will not be blown away no matter what happens. Now, another interesting thing about this story, the rains come, the floods came, all of these things happened to both the wise and the foolish, correct? But there's one difference. The only difference is, how is their awareness anchored? What is the foundation of their awareness? It was actually Yogananda that says this, to give us a clue of what are we looking for? What are we to found our awareness? What is our foundation so that no matter what happens, we're not blown away? Paramacanda Yogananda said, the consciousness built on the rock of God consciousness shall not lose its divine contact in life or death, but will forever be housed in blissful immortality. The consciousness built on the rock of God consciousness. Our goal is to build a life, a framework, a frame of reference, a frame of who we are in being, where our awareness is always founded on God or God consciousness. So what does that mean? I'd like to read to you a quote from the book, The Philosophy of Jesus by Ernest Holmes. How many of you know Ernest Holmes, who he was? He was a contemporary writer. He was a contemporary of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founders of Unity. He was around in the late 1800s, one of the New Thought, ancient wisdom writers, an excellent writer. This book is titled The Philosophy of Jesus, and he writes, throughout our lives, we have read and wondered about the miracles of Jesus. But to how many of us has the thought come that the same power must be available to everyone? Jesus had access to a spiritual power that he used in every way. To him, it seemed the most natural thing in the world that he should be able to tell the paralyzed man to walk, or multiply the loaves and fishes, or still the winds and the waves. Ernest says, I happen to be one of those who really believe that Jesus did these things, and that we could also do them if we had the know-how. It takes nothing away from Jesus when we say that we also have access to the same power which enabled him to do such wonderful things. For when we study his words carefully, we find that he said that others could do the same if they followed the same principles. Jesus was not the great exception, he was the great example. He even said, greater works than these shall you do. Jesus did have access to some kind of power that was available for every purpose. He had access to an intelligence that guided him in everything he did, and he had a deep inward peace and feeling of security that removed all confusion and doubt and uncertainty from his mind. Now, how many of you would like to have that peace, that intelligence, and all of those things? Absolutely. What we want is to find the key that unlocks the doorway to the power and the presence that is greater than we are. We want to do this, and to do so we can simply discover what he told us. What he talked about was a certain kind of relationship which he had to God. And he said that this presence was present everywhere, and it was also within him and within everyone. We shall learn that Jesus believed himself to be one with God. And he believed that the divine presence was right where he was. That firm down foundation that whatever comes, he was absolutely still connected. He communed with this presence through prayer and meditation until it was the most real thing in his life. We're talking about an awareness, which is our life essentially. And having an awareness that is founded on and sourced by the true knowing that we are one with all that is.